And I know you know that last night's Rumble has people around the nation fighting over who won, who weakened, and who became outright invisible. Let's bring that argument right to your screen right now. Fair and Balanced, a Fox Business exclusive. Richard Goodstein is a Democratic strategist and was an advisor to Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign. We are also joined by Republican strategist Mercedes Schlapp. She was a spokesperson for President George W. Bush. You guys both just heard, I hope, the two sound bites, one from Scott Walker and one from Jeb Bush. They got into a little bit of detail about it. Let's first take on what Marco Rubio said, because as we all know, small business is truly the backbone of job creation in this nation. Here's Marco Rubio.
The first thing we need to do is we need to even out the tax code for small businesses so that we lower their tax rate to 25%, just as we need to lower it for all businesses. We need to have a regulatory budget in America that limits the amount of regulations on our economy. We need to repeal and replace Obamacare, and we need to improve higher education so that people can have access to the skills they need for 21st century jobs. And last but not least, we need to repeal Dodd-Frank. It is eviscerating small businesses and small banks. Over 40% of small and mid-sized banks that loan money to small businesses have been wiped out since Dodd-Frank has passed. We need to repeal and replace Dodd-Frank. We need to make America fair again for all businesses, but
Marco Rubio just got more time on right now with us. Richard Goodstein, I'll give this one to you first. As a Democrat, that's a solid answer. A few problematic issues. Number one, you can alter Dodd-Frank to make sure that perhaps smaller banks are eliminated from the onerous regulations. So instead of just getting rid of the whole thing. But what did you think? Who do you think won from a business person's perspective?
You know, I don't think there were any winners. Look, I actually want the Republican Party. Here's why. Look, I want the Republican Party to be competitive. I think we had great times in the 90s when Bill Clinton was president and there were Republicans controlling Congress. We had balanced budgets and so forth. If you look at that autopsy that the Republican Party did a couple, 3 years ago, it was deal with Latinos. They're kind of hurting themselves. Deal with women, hurting themselves. Deal with youth, same thing. And you don't even have somebody like Carly Fiorina mentioning jobs. Certainly inequality, income inequality didn't come up at all. Middle class, forget it. So I actually think in the next debate, I hope, look, kudos to Fox News for getting such great great ratings. Fabulous. But I actually think this did not put the Republican Party in a very good light. And I would say one thing. You have CEOs coming on your network. Ask them, do they endorse Donald Trump? For all his braggadocio about how great he is for business, name me one Fortune 100, 500 CEO that has, to this moment, endorsed Donald Trump. I don't think you'll find any.
Let me get to Mercedes. Mercedes, who do you think did the best from a business standpoint? And you do look at all the polls. It's the economy that people do indeed care about.
Well, I think Governor Jeb Bush really provided that strong answer about the 4%, very clear economic growth, very clearly with what you're seeing, what these governors are saying on the stage, which was repeal Obamacare, simplify the tax code, reduce regulations. A lot of these Republican candidates are pretty much saying the same thing. But I think Governor Jeb Bush, he really pushed forward because he was able to base it on his record in creating jobs in the state of Florida. With that being said, Governor Kasich was very strong about talking about balancing the budget. Also, Governor Walker. So again, what you're seeing is a little bit of the governors versus the senators. I think the senators, really haven't had a chance to be involved on economic growth decisions as much as the governors have. And that's why I think Governor Jeb Bush did a solid job on that.
Richard, Donald Trump, I think he didn't get to establish anything. And in fact, Chris Wallace going after him saying, you've run these companies and some of them have gone bankrupt. I'm not sure at this point, it's early, people are going to have that resonate with them. But how does a Bernie Sanders really stand out to the business world? You need the business person's vote, especially the small business person.
You're going to have to ask somebody who represents the Bernie Sanders campaign about that. I really can't speak for Bernie Sanders.
Okay,
I'd be happy to talk. I'd be happy to talk about Trump. And let's, again, ask your viewers or your guests what he's talking about trade. OK, he's talking about tariffs and cutting off this and that from China, Japan, Mexico. Every trade expert, right, left, middle, Republican, Democrat, that would be disastrous. We would have a trade war like we haven't had for almost a century. Nobody wants that. No business person wants that. And as far as Mercedes saying about Jeb Bush, if he had such great ideas about job creation and economic growth, Why didn't he share those with his brother and his father, who, if you averaged out their job growth numbers, one second. But if you averaged out their economic growth numbers, they were half of Bill Clinton's.
Mercedes?
So please.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's just such a low blow. I mean, Governor Jeb Bush, what he did in Florida is what his work and what he's very proud of. And he was very solid in being able to talk about his. Oh, come on. That is just so not fair. What we're talking about here is if you look at the Clinton-Obama economy, clearly what we've seen is more burden on businesses. We are seeing less business investment. In fact, businesses are scared to invest in the United States. We're seeing we need more rapid labor productivity. We're seeing low labor participation rates. So you know what? We have a sluggish economy. So go after Obama and Clinton. Don't just go and have Bush going after Bush in that way. I just think that's a low blow.
Blame to go all around because there were 2 terms with President George W. Bush in there, too. But there have been both good times and bad with all these presidents. And there are great times with both of you. We'll have you back. Thank you both so much. Richard Goodstein, Democratic strategist. And Richard, you get your turn when there's a Democratic debate. And Mercedes Schlapp, Republican strategist.